Lord will give me a little extra something to make this come across. Father God, I want to pray right now for your word to become real in a different way than perhaps some of them have ever read it. To see a few glimpses, a little hint here and there that will make heaven seem a bit more real and a bit more desirable to those of us still here. Now I can see. When I was a child, I was taught very little about heaven. It was just some place that you went to when you died. We had a lot of black and white films on TV that would depict angels, people that had died with wings, a halo, sitting on a cloud, strumming a little harp. Nothing about that appealed to me. Absolutely nothing. That was about as foreign. That was not a place I would want to go and stay forever doing that. It just did not appeal to me at all. One of my first experiences that I can remember was on an airplane, and it was one of those old prop planes. We looked up the clouds, and my mom said, "Keep a careful look out that window. You might see an angel." I spent about the next 30 minutes trying to do that and was incredibly disappointed. I didn't see a single angel. Something about that kind of rankled me, that angels would be up on the clouds. Well, the scriptures do tell us that at the very end of time, Jesus Christ himself would appear in the clouds, coming on the clouds of glory with the heavenly host around him, resurrecting people out of graves right and left, and that crowd roaring by the second as he makes his way around the world, resurrecting the dead for the second coming of Christ. That to me is a little more exciting, but it still doesn't tell me much about heaven. We know for sure, though, that there are two things in life that are for sure: death and taxes. Try to get out of the taxes part. You might be lucky for a while, but talk to Willie Nelson about how far that'll get you. But none of us can escape death. It's not something we like to think about. It's not something we like to endure. At the same time, scriptures tell us that this isn't our home. As nice as this world is, as beautiful as many places still are, we're just pilgrims. We're sojourners through this world. We are strangers before thee and sojourners, just like all of our fathers were. Our days on this earth are just like a shadow, and there is none abiding. Hebrews says, all of these people in the past, all of these heroes of the faith, they died, they didn't receive the promises that God had told them about, but they could see it afar off. And they were persuaded of these promises, and they embraced these promises, and they confessed they were strangers, pilgrims on this earth. 1 Peter says, "Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, I want you to abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul." You're just passing through, which is good. Still doesn't tell us a lot about heaven. Hebrews goes on and says, all of these heroes of the past, they desired a better country, a heavenly one. Jesus, in the book of John, says, "Don't let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house, in my Father's realm, are many rooms, many living quarters, many mansions," as the King James says. And if this wasn't so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will indeed come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. It's a better country that we're going to. But still not a lot of detail. We just have glimpses here and there. In the book of Revelation, it talks about, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea wasn't anymore. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God, and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Neither will there be any mourning, no crying, no pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. Paul says if this is not true, then we're the most pitiable of all people if Christ hasn't been raised from the dead. But, he said, Christ has been raised from the dead. The first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. As I began studying more and more about heaven, it became clear to me over a period of time that everything good that God created on this earth, everything good was patterned after heaven. It's an image, it's a copy, it's a model of heaven. Man himself was created in God's image. He's not God, but he has many of the qualities of God. The earthly bears an image of the heavenly. Everything that God created in the Garden of Eden, a paradise on earth, was but a copy of the paradise that is heaven. The trees, the mountains, the streams. We see it described several times in Scripture that there are streams, there are rivers, there are trees, there are mountains. And there's this incredible city, the New Jerusalem, that will come down out of heaven at the end of time. Now there's going to be a judgment day. Thank God for that. Love draws a line in the sand and says, this far and no more. I've had enough of you guys and your nonsense. It's judgment day. And when he dispenses with all of those that are not followers of his, the earth is purged and remade anew. We have the heavenly Jerusalem coming down. If you look at the dimensions listed in the Scriptures, this new Jerusalem is about 1,000 miles square. Huge. If you place it right on top of modern-day Israel, it goes all the way over to Greece, goes all the way over to Persia, and down way into Africa, and up into the foothills of Europe. A massive city. A massive city. But when Jesus comes back, he's coming back here. Let that sink in. That may go totally against your preconceived ideas, what you've been taught before, but when Jesus returns to this earth to set up his kingdom, it is here. This earth is remade. Everything ugly, everything that is opposed to God, everything that is not the way it's supposed to be, will be gotten rid of, and this place will be a Garden of Eden. And he will reign in our midst. Now, you've heard a lot of country songs and a lot of other songs that talk about having a little log cabin just on the outskirts of heaven. That's kind of what I want. I'm not a big city person. I'll visit occasionally. I'll be glad to meet Christ anytime. I'll be glad to worship him at all times, no matter where I am. But I kind of like a little place out in the country. Not much. 2 or 3 tables, 2 or 3 chairs, just a little place. And on the bottom log, it'll have made for you especially by Jesus Christ with love. And I'm looking forward to that. Everything good created on this earth is just an image, it's a model, it's a copy, it's a pattern of the heavenly. That I can grab hold of that. That appeals to me. He's coming to redeem not only our bodies, but all of creation is groaning with anticipation, awaiting our redemption, awaiting the resurrection, awaiting the new heaven and the new earth and that new city of Jerusalem. It's groaning right now. If you've listened to some of the reports, you'll hear people around the world that have heard these strange sounds. It sounds like a groaning of metal, a groaning of rock, a groaning of trees being bent. All of creation is groaning, waiting for our redemption. I've lost a lot of people down through the years, and the older you get, the more you'll lose too. A few friends, aunts and uncles have all gone. My mom, 25, almost 26 years ago, a late wife. And there's something about somebody's passing that is sad, but when you catch a glimpse of what heaven is and where they have gone, there's also something to look forward to. When Jesus was on the cross, he used that word paradise. He talked to the one thief that was supporting him as a holy person, and he said, "This day you will be with me in paradise." This day. Paradise, that heavenly Eden, the Garden of Eden, that has yet to come down and be manifest here. Scriptures talk about that day as a day when the earth will be swallowed up by heaven. We will be clothed, we'll put on that extra dimension of heaven. Our bodies will be transformed to be like Christ's imperishable physical body. And we'll be able to dwell in this world without any worries. It'll be a paradise. This day will be with me in paradise. And Paul says when a believer dies, he goes to be with Christ. He is in that paradise, not yet made flesh on this earth, but just as if I might be bold enough, I'll tell you one little vision that I had. And Paul had a vision that was probably a lot greater than mine, where he said he was caught up in the third heaven. He saw things he couldn't even explain. Ineffable. He couldn't put words to it. It was that much more magnificent than what is here. If you took what was here and you multiplied it times 10, and then that times 10, that may approximate what he saw, but you can't put that into words. We can't even relate to it other than to see the pattern that God has set through his creation, of the beauty, the grandeur, the majesty of his creation, and knowing that heaven is many, many times better. And it'll be a reality that you can look forward to, that you can hang on to. If you can get a glimpse of that in your heart. As I did one night, I lay praying in my bed. It was during one of those times that maybe some of you have had periods in your life where you've gotten really close to the Lord. It may have lasted just a few days, weeks, months. We all seem to go through these peak periods and these deep valley periods. We all do. But during one of these peak moments, it was as if I was caught up into heaven. And the vision that I saw was just breathtaking. I was on a hillside overlooking a little valley, and far off onto the right-hand side over here, there were these majestic mountains, a beautiful river, tree-lined, and before me, straight out before me, was a large vineyard. And the vineyard was just full of grapes, the size of your fist. It was amazing. It was spread out as far as the eye could see, and in the distance, the city of Jerusalem, just barely visible. A small little village off to my left. An old man and his wife, they were both old and yet they seemed young and full of life, were holding hands. A horse was playing with a cat. Little cottages spread out. It looked like something out of Tolkien, a little Hobbitville. It was amazing. And the peace that I had as I breathed in the air, it was crisp and cool and invigorating, and I felt more alive than I'd ever felt in my life. And then a train pulled into a little train depot. But the train was floating above the vineyard. There were no wheels. It was mechanical, but it was also heavenly. People got off, and they made their way to the little cottages. I guess they'd been at the city of Jerusalem, praising and worshiping God. And then it melted away. And I laid there in bed for an hour or so, still able to feel the grass, still able to smell the flowers in the air, and that life-giving quality. And I just basked in that until I went to sleep. The reality of heaven. Those that have gone before us are waiting for us, pulling for us, urging us onward. Angels that God has assigned to you in your life.
Amen.
They're urging you, all of them are urging you. God from heaven is urging you, don't give up. Life can be really crappy sometimes. It can hurt. You never know what a single day is going to bring forth. I woke up a couple of weeks ago unable to breathe. Apparently I'd thrown some blood clots. And they were in my lungs now. Thank God they weren't in my heart or head, or I wouldn't be standing here, but I couldn't breathe. The night before, I was feeling halfway decent. I was hurting a little bit, but nothing like that. There's nothing scarier than not being able to breathe and having this incredible pain in your chest. You never know what a single day is going to bring forth. That's Proverbs 27, verse 1. One of the ways to make the reality of heaven more real to you, on top of all of this, is to allow God's love to flow through you in ministry to somebody else in need. Fill with these shoe boxes, something small. Most of us can do that. Going to John 3:16 and ministering to people that are in need, that are homeless. You'll see entire families there that have lost everything. And to pray with them. You don't have to pray necessarily with them, but you can pray for everybody that comes through that line. When you get a chance to say something to a waiter or waitress at a restaurant, we're getting ready to pray for our food. Is there anything we can pray for you about? Little opportunities like that. When you start seeing God's love not just flow to you, but through you, and then when you see the response, when you manage to lead somebody for the first time to the Lord, wow, that love, that reality of God's love, the reality of Christ in you, there's nothing like it. You're on cloud 9 for a week. They're on cloud 9 for real. They're joining their hearts to the heart of God. And heaven is a little bigger. When my mom was passing, I gave her that opportunity. Life had not treated her well. Divorced. I was a baby born out of wedlock. My legal father rejected me. Biological father didn't know I existed. Her life went from one of a person in the Air Force, lieutenant colonel, well off, to somebody that lived below the poverty line. And she had held a resentment about God, held a resentment about how her life had turned out, what she was unable to provide me with, except her love. And I told her it was time now to lay that all aside. Lay down the grief, the disappointments, the failures, the frustrations, the hurts, the resentments against God and man alike. And I said, heaven would not be heaven if you weren't there. Something inside of her clicked. And I led her in the sinner's prayer 2 weeks before she passed, a few days before she went unconscious. And now I've got something to look forward to. Heaven is that much better. The reality of heaven. Catch a glimpse of it. Those loved ones that we've lost, if they're in Christ, wow, they're pulling for us. They're still there. They're ahead of us. We can look behind all the pain and suffering they may have gone through, all the pain and suffering that we have gone through. It's a distant memory. The last time you were sick, felt crappy. Now you're happy. You're well. That doesn't bother you. It doesn't bother them at all.
Amen.
Don't sorrow over all of that. Rejoice that you're going to see them again.
Amen.
For many of us, and if these are truly the last days, it's going to be a lot sooner than we think. So lift up your heads. Your redemption draweth nigh. Father God, I thank you for those that are seated here today. I pray that something that I have spoken may awaken a new vision of heaven, may have made it seem a little more real. Gives them something to look forward to and to strain forward to press on for that prize. Life gets tough down here, Father, and I pray for each one that sits here, all of the spoken and the unspoken needs that they have in their lives, that you would work to help them endure, and not only endure, but overcome. To stand firm in the faith and see you in your mighty hand do things that no human being could do. That you bless them as they bless others, and as they become a blessing, Lord, raise them up out of the areas of despair and depression and frustrations and anxieties into that realm where they can smell heaven, where they can feel that air of heaven, and that love that you have for them move in them and through them to meet one another's needs. In Christ Jesus' name I pray.